Well, on the second day, we'll focus on the Castle District for starters. Curiously, up on the Castle District hill, there is no castle, but instead you'll find a huge palace and a charming old town to explore on foot. Upon reaching the top of the hill, it's probably best to begin your explorations with a walk through the Castle District in the morning while the streets are not so crowded, and save the palace museums for later in the day. These streets are the oldest in Budapest and date back to the Middle Ages, when this community was established as a hilltop refuge for protection from the invading Mongols. While the Castle District is only about a mile long and 4 blocks wide, with half of that space taken up by the Royal Palace, and the other half consisting of narrow cobbled streets lined with old homes and a few shops. You might walk into some of those courtyards. They're public. You can walk along through a driveway, through an arch, and you'll notice a nice little courtyard with apartments arrayed around it, and there are side alleys that connect one long street with the next. So you can just meander and zigzag. In such a small space, it probably won't take you much more than 30 minutes to an hour to cover most of it. And there are several important structures that are worthy of a close look, especially the star attraction, the Matthias Church in the town center. You can't miss it with its tall steeple. The walls, ceilings, and columns are completely covered in wildly colorful geometric patterns based loosely on the Gothic style with more recent elements thrown in, resulting in a nearly psychedelic combination. Behind the church is the famous Fisherman's Bastion lookout point that provides a dramatic view across the river to the Pest side of town. This bastion is another building that looks 5 times older than it really is, with its hodgepodge of Byzantine, Gothic, and Romanesque kitsch, thrown together in such an entertaining way that it was copied by Disney. You can walk on the upper level and get a good view, and there's a cafe. You can sit at a table and get some snack service here if you like. And there's also viewpoints along the left side of the Fisherman's Bastion. As you look across the river on this glorious view, note especially the huge Parliament building with its large dome and many neo-Gothic spires. In the small open square stands a heroic equestrian statue of Saint Stephen, Hungary's first king. While the rest of this castle district can be easily walked in an hour for a walk down these wonderful, narrow cobblestone lanes. One slightly incongruous modern structure here is the Hilton Hotel, which actually does a good job of blending in on the street side behind an 18th century Jesuit facade. Small art galleries and antique shops are also found along these narrow lanes. And of course, along with all of the historical attractions in the Castle District, you're going to find some enticing gift shops. Heron porcelain is one of the local specialties here in Hungary. Cut glass is another one, and especially fabrics, the textile design based on traditional patterns, and the lace shops really offer some beautiful displays. Now, you can't see this from the sidewalk or simply looking in the window, so by all means, step inside the door. They'd love to have you in there, no problem. You don't have to shop, you don't have to buy anything if you don't want to. Just have a look, and if you'd like to buy, you'll get some pretty good bargains here. Very knowledgeable salespeople will be very happy to explain and demonstrate the lace of Hungary. It's really a colorful display. And with the several museums in the Royal Palace on Castle Hill, you'll find that you can spend the entire day up here in the old part of the city, the Buda Hill. On your third day, you might focus on the inner city and the art museum. Start out with St. Stephen's Basilica. A few blocks north of Vörösmarty Square, you'll find the nation's largest church, St. Stephen's Basilica, It was finished in 1905 in the Neo-Renaissance style, with a huge dome towering 300 feet over a vast interior that can hold 8,000 people. Restoration work has been ongoing for many years and by now is just about completed. So you don't have to worry about the scaffoldings. They've been up for years, but they're largely gone now. And you can see these many fine mosaics and frescoes and statues and grand religious architecture embellished with golden trim throughout. The only good view of the large facade is from the far end of the square in front, which has now been converted into a pedestrian zone. There's cafes and shops around in this neighborhood, so be sure to spend a little time out front of the Basilica when you're finished. Well, a tram ride along the Great Boulevard is another one of the fun activities in Budapest. You can walk 4 blocks to the big busy street, the Great Ring Boulevard, and hop on a tram for a delightful local experience. Another interesting location along the Grand Boulevards is what's called the Octagon. It's a octagonal shaped square intersection of 2 major streets. Many trams run through here. It's a busy place. You can meet at the Burger King at Octagon. That's a familiar landmark in Budapest. Or just take a look around at the different corners and nooks and crannies of this Octagon neighborhood. It's really quite attractive in an urban, busy kind of way. And just a block away is the Franz Liszt Terrace. This is a grand promenade that's lined with cafes and restaurants and beautiful trees. There's a small park in the middle, and it's a major gathering spot for the locals in town. You can tell that there's not very many tourists here at this location, so, well, these restaurants must be pretty good. Well, by now you've seen most of Budapest except for the grand finale, the excellent Museum of Fine Arts. To get to the Museum of Fine Art, continue along from the Octagon by metro up to Heroes Square, which is just 4 stops away at the end of the line. If you've got the time and energy, you could skip that metro ride and walk the last leg along this grand Andrassy Street, sometimes compared to a beautiful Parisian boulevard with its pretty trees and Art Nouveau buildings. It goes all the way from Deák Terrace to Heroes Square, and it's just about a mile long, so Andrassy makes another grand boulevard for your promenade. All of these streets are fun for walking. This metro, though, is a historic landmark in itself. It's the continent's very first subway train. It was built in 1896 when Budapest was in its glory days, and it's still running as a quaint, old-fashioned system with small cars just below street level. It's not the first metro in all of Europe. That was in London, but it is the first metro on the continent of Europe. So it's a great system to check out. And in 4 stops, you arrive at Heroes Square, which is gateway to the museum and to the city park. In the middle of the large, spectacular Heroes Square stands a monumental column celebrating the nation's millennium, topped by the Archangel Gabriel holding the Hungarian crown, which symbolizes the nation's conversion to Christianity under St. Stephen 1,000 years ago. The 100-foot column is embraced by a huge semicircular colonnade bedecked with oversized statues representing the most heroic kings and princes of Hungary. The square is flanked on 2 sides by majestic museums. The Museum of Fine Arts has an excellent collection of old masters, especially Spanish and Italian, and a handful of Impressionists, and a large room downstairs of Egyptian pieces, along with several galleries of Greek and Roman marble statues. The building is quite impressive in the grand neoclassical style of a temple to the arts. with a big row of columns out front holding up the triangular pediment. And inside there are vast spaces for the art displays. It could be ranked among Europe's top museums, so the art fan would definitely enjoy a visit. Perhaps the most single interesting piece in their collection is a bronze statue by Leonardo da Vinci, his only known statue to survive. It's quite small, it's just about 1 foot long, but it's a spectacular equestrian study of a bucking horse up on its hind legs with a small, muscular, helmeted rider hanging on. There are other beautiful Italian works by Raphael, Correggio, Veronese, Tiepolo, and important Spanish paintings by Velázquez, El Greco, Goya, Zurbaran, and Murillo. On the Flemish side, you'll find Rembrandt, Hals, Rubens, Bruegel, Steen, and Van Dyck. Sounds great, doesn't it? You will not be disappointed. If you are not yet ready to eat, you could take a walk in City Park across the square. It has a zoo, extensive rolling lawns, little ponds, a fantasy castle, a skating rink, restful benches, a chapel, and museums of agriculture and transportation. There's some public baths in here with thermal springs, a very popular one. There's even a circus and a fun fair. This popular recreation spot could keep you busy for hours. Notice the fantasy castle. It's like a pastiche assemblage of elements of the Baroque especially, and Renaissance and the Neo-Gothic. It's a towering monster, and inside there is it's an agricultural museum. It might not be terribly impressive or attractive to you to actually tour throughout the museum. At least step into the lobby and have a look around. It's an impressive interior. But after all, hey, agriculture is one of the most important aspects of any society. How do you feed yourselves? And here you will find the whole history of agriculture in Hungary. Well, that wraps up our visit to Budapest. We'll be showing you more of this great city in future episodes, of course, on World Traveler. Meanwhile, we're having our final breakfast. We've been here for several days, enjoying the Meridian 5-star deluxe hotel, and what a breakfast they serve. There's all sorts of fresh fruits and pastries. We've got fresh eggs. We've got cooked omelets. We've got pancakes. We have got an amazing setting here in the beautiful dining room. It's the main dining room of the Meridian Hotel. And this is all included in the room rates. Here, typically in Europe, a very nice breakfast is included. And what a grand, opulent setting we're enjoying here. But it's time to leave. We've enjoyed our stay in this great city. And now we have packed our bags and rendezvoused in the hotel lobby. And we will be on our way. We'll be transferring by a private bus service from the hotel over to the train station. And yes, we're traveling by first-class rail. It's a great way to get around in Europe. And then afterwards, we're going to be visiting the great city of Prague. Well, it's a short drive from the hotel to the train station, Kalety Station, where we will soon be boarding. But first, there's time to grab some snacks, pick up some fresh fruits, maybe get a sandwich, wait a little bit. We like to get to the station a little early so we're not in any great rush. And then take our time getting on the train, find our wonderful compartments in this deluxe first-class service. There's also a dining car on board. And then we have a chat with our travelers.
I really like Budapest.
Open market was really interesting, and the pedestrian walkway was good. The park, Heroes Park, was beautiful.
I was interested in the fact that the old and the new parts were such a contrast. When I saw the newer parts, especially the pedestrian walkways, I was very impressed that they have done so much to make visitors welcome. And I think if this continues, they will have more visitors. So Hungarian tourist industry or whoever you are to be commended for doing such a great job.
Train ride is wonderful. This is the best way to travel. And the fact that you stay in a nice hotel, 5-star, right in the middle of Old Town, everything is so accessible. I think it's just wonderful.
Budapest was surprising when we got to the train station. I was kind of not expecting much, but when we got to our hotel, it was very lovely. We had a great time. We had a great room. And the service was good. The food was good. We saw some important cultural things there. We saw the folk dances. And also we went to see some history of the Holocaust at the synagogue, which was important for me to see. I can't say I enjoyed it, but it was important to see. Good experience. The city is undergoing tremendous growth. And I would say in about 5 to 10 years, it's going to be as good as, I haven't seen Prague yet, but I'll bet it's up to that standard very soon. There's a lot of work that needs to be done yet, but it's still very pleasant and very easy to get around and a good place to visit. The prices are low. Right. Prices are good.
We had studied a little Hungarian history when we were in school, but we needed to recall the oppression that these people have felt to understand the culture and the city. That is what's impressive, is that after all of that, they've come back so much, and the city has really been restored a lot.
Yeah, there is a giant food market, and we picked up some pastries and got some gifts, chocolates and paprika, gifts for our grandchildren. And so that was an enjoyable experience and walk through down to the marketplace. We enjoyed goulash, had it as twice at least. So it was good. Enjoyed Budapest.
As for Budapest, that Plaza of Heroes and the, I went to, again, St. Stephen's Church, which was another wow effect. Jumping on a train and just relaxing is nice.
It's a city that certainly is growing. If Hungary is admitted to the EU, I think we'll see a lot of money flow into Budapest. It certainly has the promise of being an absolutely beautiful city right on the Danube. That portion of the city which has been updated and renovated is absolutely beautiful. Gets a big black pin on our world map at home, and no, I'm very glad I saw it, and I'm looking forward to seeing Prague. Both countries, the Czech Republic and Hungary, which for many, many years following the Second World War were behind the Iron Curtain, and how they have started to kind of spring forth like a new flower.
Did have time to visit the House of Terror, which made you appreciate what the Hungarian people have gone through. And in a short period from 1991 to the present, they've overcome, I think, a lot of the repression that existed for all those years.
How do you like riding on this train?
Oh, it's a great way to travel, and it's so comfortable. We travel first class, so there's always room. It's always exciting to get the luggage on board and distribute it among the trains.
We hope you've enjoyed our visit to Buda.